Let's be honest, Ubiquiti is very well known for their enterprise class mesh networking gear. They have plenty of different products ranging in speeds and signal power and everything offered to enterprise customers. I mean, I'm talking the kind of coverage that you need when you want to cover a hotel or maybe even an airport. But consumer grade Ubiquiti mesh technology. That's a new one. In today's video, I'm going to tell you why I think this is a good product, but maybe not for everybody. This is the AmpliFi HD brought to you by Ubiquiti. It's a 3.9-inch white cube with a nice little white LED on the bottom. It has a 1.6-inch color touchscreen in the front. It has 3x3 MIMO technologies, and with this kit, you get 2 mesh points to hook up to the base router. These mesh points are 7 inches long, plug into any outlet, do not require nor have the ability to hook up to Ethernet, and only supports the 5 GHz frequency. They have LEDs on the front to indicate the signal strength to the base router, and they have kind of a unique magnetic connection. Back to the router though, on the back you get 4 standard gigabit ports plus 1 WAN gigabit port, a USB 2.0, and it is powered by a Type-C USB connection. The Ubiquiti AmpliFi HD claims to be able to cover up to 20,000 square feet using 802.11a, b, g, n, and AC. Combined with the 6 radios, it has a theoretical maximum throughput of 1,750 megabits per second. Now, what exactly is mesh networking, and who exactly is mesh networking for? The simplest answer here is that mesh networking allows for multiple different points of signal to work together smoothly to transition a device from one access point to the other. Think of it like your cell phone. If you're traveling across the country holding a conversation with somebody and you never lose connection, that doesn't mean that you're still connected to the original cell tower of which you started. What it really means is that your cell phone provider was able to seamlessly transfer your connection from one access point to the other as you drove down the highway. Well, that's what Wi-Fi mesh technology is. If you were starting out, say, in your basement and you went all the way to the 3rd floor and you had different access points for each room, you would be able to maintain your Skype call all the way from the bottom to the top seamlessly without dropping your connection, and theoretically still maintaining strong signal and speeds. Now, as I said in the intro, this can be good for a lot of people. Maybe you don't have a 20,000 square foot home or a business. However, if you do have a home where you happen to have dead spots, that's where mesh technology comes into play. So using this as an example with the included antennas that comes with the kit, you could basically put, let's say, this all the way down in your basement near where your modem might have been installed when you moved in, this in the upstairs bedroom where you actually still get good service, and this one in the floor above where maybe before you were not able to get any Wi-Fi signal at all, and if so, it was unreliable. This is of course assuming you have a 2-story house with a basement, but hey, maybe you just have a very long house, or perhaps your router is in one corner of your house and the dead spot where you always can't get your cell phone to work is on the other side. So with this system, it allows you to actually bounce that signal from one mesh point to the other in order to extend your range. Now, of course, the best setup here is going to be this, where the router is centralized between 2 mesh points, allowing you to have the strongest connection available. And when you remove that extra hop, you also have a faster connection in general. But hey, that's enough of the sales pitch. Let's talk about how this system actually works. Now, first of all, this thing says it can cover up to 20,000 square feet. I have nothing in my life that has 20,000 square feet, so I can neither confirm nor deny those claims. What I do have though is a house that's about 2,500 square feet. It is just shaped like a box, but I have a basement and a single floor on top. And for today's video, I went a little unfair and I compared it to my daily use driver, something that I've been using since I reviewed the product. And that is the Archer C5400 from TP-Link. In its own right, this is a pretty powerful router. I've liked it. It's done really well for me. It's gotten me great signal almost everywhere that I go, and I really have no major complaints. Of course, I solely use this as an access point because I have a pfSense router, but that's aside the point. But before I get into some of my test results, let's talk about how easy this thing is to actually get set up, which really is like less than 5 minutes. You know, you plug this thing in, you download the app on your phone, it's the Ubiquiti app, it walks you through the setup process, and you're connected. It's really super simple. But on that note, and this is actually something that I found very surprising, is that everything is really controlled through the app, which I almost don't like. While technically you do have a web accessible page that you can pull up on your main computer, you have very, very limited options. I'm talking like all the effort went into making the app and they just stuck some person in the corner with like an old Dell PC and was just like, hey, make a website that people can log in and think they have control. But not too much. But even with the app, I did run into a few limitations. For example, really no parental controls. I mean, you can technically pause the internet for anybody you want, but I was kind of let down that you really don't have any kind of parental controls built into your router. But I can say that it is very easy to put the system into bridge mode, which essentially makes this not a router and more of an access point. It's like one little switch and boom, it's on, and then it's set up and that's it. It's super easy. Oh, also, if you connect it to your Facebook account, you can manage this router anywhere in the world as long as you have an internet connection, which includes turning people's internet off if that's what you want to do. Okay, so let's talk about my test. Now, I've been using an app on my iPhone, whatever latest iPhone that I'm running at the time, in order to test the theoretical connection maximum throughput between my cell phone and the router. I do it this way because honestly, I feel like most people are going to be relying heavily on mobile devices in their home. Yes, a lot of people use laptops. I'm not saying they don't, but I don't have an awesome laptop with an awesome Wi-Fi card, so I have to use what I have. So with Wi-Fi Sweet Spots, it's basically an app that communicates directly with the router itself. It uses some sort of ignore protocol that basically measures the theoretical throughput between the device and the router. I like it because you can actually record a certain amount of time and get an average. So what I decided to do was actually test my average walking all over my house. I started in the basement, walked all over the basement, went upstairs, went to the corners of each room, went into the bathrooms, I even got into the bathtub, and then I walked back downstairs. And although I do feel a little bit bad for saying this because I have a lot of respect for Ubiquiti, it did not perform as well as I'd hoped. As in, with the AmpliFi HD system on an average base throughout my entire house with these mesh points installed, a couple of them upstairs, I had an average of 348 megabits per second. But when I compare that with my C5400, I had 703 megabits per second. But hey, this system, it's built for mesh networking, for extending your range, not for the raw power that you might get from, some multi-antenna beefy router that you have just in one location of your house. So I took my testing a step further and I went outside. My thoughts here is that when I'm mowing the lawn, I like to listen to Pandora, and depending on where I am where I'm mowing my lawn, I'll run into issues where it'll basically start to skip. So I did the same test walking to the far corners of my yard, both in the front and the back, and with the AmpliFi HD, I was able to get 56.8 megabits per second on average during my entire journey. And I kept my eye on it while I was doing this, and I noticed that it really didn't drop down to 0 at any point, which is a huge deal. However, when I did the exact same test with the C5400, I was getting about 69 to 71 megabits per second. I would give you the actual averaged number, but I was unable to complete the test because as soon as I got halfway out my yard, I lost signal. I tried it a couple times, but I just cannot maintain a Wi-Fi signal while I'm going out to the corners of my yard. So I guess in the end, that's really what I was trying to prove, is mesh networking versus single point. So win. I also tried to use iPerf from my phone. However, there's an issue with iPerf 3, does not run as fast as iPerf 2 as far as being single versus multi-threaded, and it just wasn't really giving me the numbers that I was looking for either router. So I didn't really want to include that in this video. But what this all really boils down to is coverage. Now, if you need the raw speed of maybe a gaming router that's going to give you the lowest latency and the maximum throughput to download huge files or something like that, maybe you'll want a top of the line single point router. But if you don't want any dead spots and a good constant speed throughout your house, that's where I think something like this can really come in and fulfill those expectations for you. However, there is just one thing, and something that I was actually very surprised when I learned, and that is this does not have MU-MIMO. And what that means is that it is not capable of having conversations with multiple devices at the same time. We're talking concurrent data transfers. Now with the single user MIMO, you can communicate fast enough between the two that it seems like it's multiple users communicating at the same time, but in reality, they're all just kind of waiting their turn. And this might not matter to you if you only have 1 or 2 devices in your house, but if you have a busy household, maybe with a bunch of different devices, you have, an Apple TV, an Amazon Fire TV, multiple different phones on the network, maybe some tablets, etc., you may start running into issues where your network gets a little congested. So at the end of the day, this is actually a pretty good system if you want thorough coverage throughout your house and you want to maintain pretty good speeds while you're doing it. But if you need something that needs a ton of just raw speed, you're probably going to have to look at a high-end single point router. It doesn't necessarily have to be a TP-Link Archer C5400, but it's around that price range where you're going to get those multiple antennas and you get multiple streams all at the same time to one device, giving you those higher speeds. But I can say this. This actually looks pretty good. This is one of those devices that you don't have to hide in the basement. Like, you can actually put this up somewhere and it's not going to be hideous. And the little glow ring on the bottom is actually kind of cool. While the system might not compare to some of Ubiquiti's enterprise class hardware, it is a pretty good consumer grade starting point for somebody who needs extra coverage and doesn't necessarily need those excessive speeds. I mean, let's be honest, not everybody has 300 or gigabit connections at their house, so maybe having those high-end speeds really just is not that important. If you guys want to learn more about the AmpliFi HD system, check out the links below. There you will find pricing, which I have now really tried to not include in the videos because they always seem to fluctuate, along with some additional technical specifications. As always guys, like and subscribe below. Thank you for watching and have yourself a great day.